Welcome back to the Authenticity Calling podcast. I'm your host, Relitza Spasova, and it's been a while since we had a podcast, so I'm so excited to restart this up for the summer with my spirit sister, divine goddess, perfect balance. We always balance each other, even in the clothes that we wear and how we show up, and I absolutely love you, Sweta Patel. Welcome back to the podcast, and thank you for being with us today.
Thank you. Thank you. Sending you love right back and completely wholeheartedly agree. I love the balance that we bring to each other and love our conversations. And so it's always a beautiful opportunity to record them and share them with your audience.
Oh,
Yeah.
absolutely. I love it. So this all actually started from a conversation we had yesterday. And it was
Yes.
literally just from my recollection, my memory, and what was coming through for me today as I was kind of getting ready and preparing for this conversation. I was just thinking, why am I so resistant to the feelings, and really recognizing that my calling in the last months, years, I don't even know what to time it, but has really been to call into integrity, right? To call first and foremost myself into integrity and recognize that every single action I take, every thought I have, every opportunity that I'm asked to contribute to and serve in, I really have to take back and check in with myself. Is this in alignment with my purpose and my call? Is this something that I can really meaningfully contribute to? And is this something that I'm ready to take on? Because as a people pleaser and as somebody who in the past has really taken on way too much and never said no, it's something that I have this almost sense of responsibility to say yes to everything. And we were talking about the gene keys, and I want to talk a little bit more about those. But in getting my gene keys read and really deepening into them and contemplating, I recognize that where that shadow comes from, and really recognizing the beauty in it and transforming it into the greatest gift that I could ever receive from life, in looking back and really appreciating my younger self for the way in which she showed up to meet those desires and those needs. But oftentimes I haven't given myself the space for what we were talking about, which is the pity party. And I so judged it, right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
you came in, and I would love for you to just share sort of like your perspective of, really feeling into it all.
Yeah.
That's your beauty. And I used to be an emotional ninja. So for me, it was like, I will bypass every feeling and emotion because it's going to get me stuck. It's not going to be productive. We don't have time for it. But there's so much beauty in it. So yeah, I would to just learn a little bit more from you about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can table this for afterwards, but I love your share about the gene keys and what has been revealed to you through that. And I am curious to know, and you can answer now or later, how that's shifted your perspective on saying yes to everything and your people pleasing. And it has me thinking of something that we also spoke about yesterday, which was boundaries and versus honoring our
That's right.
it's aligned. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So I can share a little bit now. I think it's mostly what I already said was really about actually checking in with myself. So for me, I think for most people, and I'm learning this through the gene keys, is that for most people, it is really people are their own priority. And that hasn't been the case for me. And so a lot of times when I share, prioritize yourself, I get a lot of pushback from spiritual people, and they say, no, you're supposed to prioritize others. And it's always very conflicting to me, because I'm like, wait a second, if we don't know who we are first and foremost, if we don't honor the truth of who we are, right? Our essence, our spirit, our purpose, our true meaning of life, then how are we actually going to show up to serve anyone else, right? And I have been showing up out of this place of truly actually essence, knowing that I have everything that can just overflow, but then also overdoing it, saying yes. And it wasn't necessarily in alignment in my energetic capacity. I didn't take the to refill my cup. You know, a lot of times I went into the things, and because I was passionate about them, that passion just naturally surged from me. But there's a way to do it consciously and to really show up fully radiant in our essence and our excellence and in everything that we have to overflow. And for people like me who usually prioritize others, it starts with me. It
Yeah.
starts checking in and saying, okay, this is the opportunity, this is the ask, this is a request for your time and energy. How are you going to show up in this space? And the big shift for me, now that we're kind of talking about it and digging into it, this is very recent that I had it done, so I haven't sat and contemplated with it fully. But what's coming through for me now is that need to always do. So being in the masculine energy all the time of like, okay, this is the issue that's presenting. Now, how can I strategize and show up and take it all on myself? That's first and foremost. So never working alone is the new me. But the old me used to think, oh my goodness, there's this problem. I have to do it all by myself. Second part was really taking it as a personal responsibility, but having to do something in it. And realizing my gene keys are actually about being in my essence. And my gift is just, it's in my aura, it's in my auric field. It's not anything that I can ever do, it's just being there.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing it in the work that I do now in my nonprofit. The corporate work that I do is really that transforming healthcare is really just me showing up. And again, the integrity piece is so important, because when I read a document and I see something that stands out to me that's not in integrity, just seeing it actually calls people to take action without me saying a word. It's that recognition and that awareness of something's not right here. And then I'll have a conversation and they'll say, hey, in the last week, we did this and that, and this is happening. And I'm like, great, perfect. This is exactly what I had in mind that needed to shift in order to be in integrity.
Yeah.
So I think it's that full permission to really be who I genuinely truly am and honor the gift of the way I'm meant to show up energetically in the world. It really brought that discernment, and also explained a lot of, why am I so focused on the feminine? Like, I've been trusting spirit to do the things through me, but it really gave that deep explanation and understanding and inner knowing of how and why. And with that, I can do things with so much even more ease, to know like, oh, right, I'm just supposed to show up and shine. Like, there's not that over responsibility that we tend to take.
Yeah.
So much there. Like, I just gave
Yeah.
so
No,
much to you, so.
it's there's a lot there. And not in, in an attempt to boil it down, I think like here's the key things that are coming through, and circling back to this idea of, there's so many women and men out there who are saying yes when they really want to say no.
That's right.
And that speaks to the integrity, knowing what's in alignment for us versus not. And I think that many of us are given this advice of, well, set your boundary, say no, tell people it doesn't work for me. What I've noticed is, though, there's still this energy of, I don't know if it's a masculine energy, but it's a very strong energy of like, I'm going to put my foot down. I'm going to say no. That doesn't work for me. It still doesn't feel good in the body. Yeah. And
Yeah.
so, however, when we know where we're coming from and why we're saying no, and why saying yes doesn't feel aligned, and why saying no does feel aligned, suddenly we are honoring our truth. And this no longer even called a boundary anymore.
That's right.
And that's when we go from this, intense energy of like, I've got to do this, to like, this is simply who I'm being.
Yeah.
And when I'm being in this energy of honoring my truth and being in integrity with what feels aligned to me, then the word boundary melts away.
That's right.
Not even a boundary.
That's right. And that's the feeling. That is the essence that you get to experience when you honor yourself.
Yes.
That's it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, yes. And so from boundaries to honoring, boundaries out, honoring is in, therefore that whole idea of boundaries just melts away. I love that. And yeah, everything you spoke to, it's like, that's where you came out the other side when you were, able to understand what's in your gene keys
Mhm.
and what you're, what you've been looking for in terms of falling from that masculine to that feminine energy.
And it's not necessarily the masculine that's the problem. And I think a lot
Mhm.
of times there's a level of clarity that I'm being called to bring into these conversations around the masculine and the feminine. And
Mhm.
it's really that, it's not about gender, it's not about sexual orientation, it's not about identity, it's not about any of that. It's that all of us exist with a masculine and a feminine force within us, and we
Mhm.
can choose how we go about the world. And a lot of times we have been programmed in just the way where we are in our human evolution, and in our current energetic state is coming
Mhm.
from a very masculine place. And because people didn't necessarily know or honor how to hold it well. And again, it's so complex. It has to do with so many things. But men leaving for war, women having to step into the more really like male role in society, in our, in the household, in the doing, and the actually going and getting a job. And, and so that actually affects the energy on our planet. And so because it was so much in the doing, we didn't
Mhm.
really, as women, we didn't really have a space to come back to ourselves to be,
Mhm.
and to regenerate our energy, and to really honor ourselves, and to really, anything you read about, um, whether it's, this word goddess is a little bit triggering because society, I think,
Sure.
misuses it quite a bit. And that's one of those
Yeah.
integrity pieces. So I don't love to use it. But this energy of really like truly self-honoring and bringing out our gifts and shining them into the world. It's really important for everyone to rest, right? Men and women, for the masculine and the feminine. But the masculine is a lot more about the actual implementation and action that we take
Mhm.
towards the thing. Now,
Mhm.
what I've learned is the importance of actually starting with the feminine. The feminine is the muse. The feminine is the one that leads. The feminine inspires. The feminine guides. And it's through that inspiration, which is really being in our spirit, right?
Mhm.
With that,
Yep.
then we can do all of the things in such a beautiful, divine masculine way.
Yes.
And in our society, we've been doing it by bypassing
Yes.
our own inner limits, right? By saying it doesn't matter what you need, we need to do this thing, full survival mode, full scarcity mode. Like there's not enough of us to go around. There's not enough resources to go around. And it really keeps us trapped in this
Mhm.
tiny little box where now we're projecting our anger, our limitations, our scarcity onto everything and everyone instead of
Yes.
taking it back and owning it.
Absolutely. Yeah.
So
And
just to context that, because I think it's
no,
really
that's
easy
fair.
to get it confused.
Absolutely. That's fair. And all like action is welcome. And what I'm hearing is
Mm,
it's the difference between forced action,
that's right.
coming from a place of scarcity or fear, or like, I've got to do these things versus, and you said it beautifully, in spirit, inspired action. So
Mhm.
when we take action from that place of being in our spirit first,
Yes.
then it's inspired.
Yeah.
And therefore, we take action from that inspired place, which is action that's aligned back to being in alignment with our truth, being in our integrity. So, so beautifully said. And I love the clarification because that absolutely is so important for everyone to understand that we all have both energies and they are, meant to be balanced for
Mhm.
all of us, men and women. And so, yeah.
That's
Uh,
right. Yeah. And I just want to also highlight something I heard the other day, which I think needs to be recognized, is there is an imbalance right now in women stepping into a lot more of that masculine energy. Men have actually stepped into a lot of the feminine, and it's
mhm,
really off-putting. And men are like, a lot of men that I meet are either kind of forced into that toxic masculinity of force to be able
mhm,
to, play their role, or they're being forced completely into this feminine space that's like, they can't honor who they came here to be. And I think there's a lot of gender confusion in our world. Again, not to label or blame or shame or judge or any of it, but because of this energetic misalignment, there's a lot of confusion and people don't really know who they are. So they tend to kind of follow what's popular and what other
mhm.
people are doing that maybe works for them. And this is in business too. This is in everything we do. But I think we tend to follow other people's strategy. We tend to follow other people's way, and then we further lose ourselves. It's like
Yeah.
creating more shells of the onion that we then have to unpeel. And so just really recognizing that, coming back home to yourself. And I think this really brings us beautifully into the next topic of really talking about the pity party, because I want
Yeah.
to dip into that, into the juiciness of that, and also to share your upcoming program, because I know that, Inspired is all, it's your brand, it is exactly who you are and how you are, and it's so beautiful. And so I just want to honor that, and
Yeah,
dive into that.
absolutely. Thank you so much. Yeah. So back to something that you said at the beginning of this conversation. This was inspired from a conversation we had yesterday. And so, as you know, and sharing with the listeners, I called you yesterday fully in a pity party for myself. And I didn't even expect myself to laugh through it, but I was so proud. I called you and I was like, I'm having a pity party. I'm upset. Something's not going the way that I want it to be in my business, and it's feeling super frustrating. And I am just allowing myself to be upset, to be mad, to be, scared, to be in the fears, to be in all the emotions that I was feeling.
Mhm.
And yeah, I literally called you up to tell you I'm having a pity party and it's a lot of fun and I'm
Yes.
being in it. And it's funny because I actually had a pity party last week as well. And this one was unrelated to my business, but it was just with myself, like it's summertime and I might not be eating the way that I wanted to be. And I haven't been exercising the way that I typically have been. And so I was having a little bit of a pity party with myself because, some clothes were not fitting. And what do I do now? And so I noticed that I had been shoving those feelings away and being like,
Mhm.
okay, just starting tomorrow, get back on it, eat well, exercise, doing that. And I've been doing that now for about 4 or 5 weeks where it's like, okay, this is how we're going to get back on it. But it wasn't working. It didn't seem to stick.
Yeah.
And something was missing. And what I realized was I wanted to have my tantrum.
Yeah.
And so I allowed myself to have my tantrum. And I remember I was working out in the basement with my husband. I paused and I said to him, I need to just have this pity party. I need to just have it. And the best part, Relitza, it lasted maybe 90 seconds to 2 minutes. And that surprised me, and it always does, because when we allow ourselves to feel the feeling, what do we know? It's there and gone
Yeah.
within less than 2 minutes.
Mhm.
And I suddenly, like, my energy shifted because that tantrum was released.
Mhm.
And I was like, all right, I got back on it, started doing my weights, and something has really shifted energetically since then. I don't even have to try
That's right.
these things I wanted to put in place for myself to, take care of my health are coming naturally.
That's
There's
right.
no schedule, there's no routine, it's just, I'm embraced, I'm ready to do it. And so I thought yesterday, what if I apply this to now what I'm experiencing in my business? And just to give a little bit more context, like I'm feeling very stuck. I'm at a fork in the road, so to speak, in my coaching business. And I'm feeling lost and I'm feeling stuck. But before I figure out what direction to go, it's important that I sit with everything that's coming up and the
Mhm.
frustrations and that's exactly what I did. And like I said to you, it was it became almost funny
Yeah.
because as I was telling you, it felt so good. It felt so good to call you up and just have my pity party. And
Yes.
I appreciate you so much for holding the space for that. Because oftentimes, especially as coaches, even not as coaches, we're telling our kids like, suck it up
That's
or,
right.
pick yourself up, like get back on it. How often we're telling our colleagues or, our friends and, like I said, our spouses, our children, you go,
Ourselves. Yeah.
yeah, and
Yeah.
ourselves, like, stop complaining, stop whining,
Yeah.
pick yourself up,
Mhm.
use this as a learning lesson and go. But we're missing an important step.
Mhm.
Try it out.
That's
Be
right. That's right.
have the pity party. And so, yeah, that's
Oh,
my new favorite party. When it comes up, have the pity party.
so
Yeah.
beautiful. It's so beautiful and it speaks so much to a post that I made recently about manifestation. And it's like everyone's trying to manifest, but it speaks exactly to that. We're doing it from the place of not enoughness. We're doing it from our ego trying to prove itself, trying
Yeah.
to prove its worth. And that's exactly what you mentioned earlier is, coming from where? Like, where is this coming from? Why do you want to do these things?
Hmm.
What is the deeper meaning behind it? What's the deeper why? Your deeper desire is to feel something, and instead of actually feeling that thing, you're feeling the opposite, coming from force, coming from having to do all these things, when truly what your spirit wants is for you to get out of your own way by feeling the thing that you're avoiding instead of running around in circles chasing your tail, which is
Exactly.
what is
Yeah.
the habit. It's just what we do, right? We
Yeah.
run away from ourselves, and people do this. It was during I don't share this openly. I don't know why it's been coming to me to share. I did an ayahuasca journey one time, and through that process I really saw the spinning, and the conversation I had with someone afterwards. They were like, I have been running away from my problems for 55 years.
Hmm.
And for one day, for one moment, I was able to feel that thing that I've been running away from my whole life. And
Yeah.
they were truly liberated. They were
Yeah.
truly free. And it is actually that simple.
Absolutely.
That's the crazy part. Like, that's the
Yeah.
funny, ironic humor of life. When
Yes.
we recognize it and when we transform it, we get to look back and really truly laugh at ourselves. It is funny
Yeah.
how much we maintain the resistance.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that speaks to like that death and rebirth process that we get to have. A lot of people look back at their former self, at that former version of themselves, and really judge and shame and blame. And they're like, I want to kill that version. I want ego death. And I'm like, no, wait a second. Whoa. We're not killing. We're not like,
Yeah.
butchering. We're not hating on you, really honoring and loving and
Yeah.
appreciating that version of you got through all of the things that it did
Yeah.
in such a beautiful way. Like, look at everything that we've accomplished looking back, coming from this place of force. Like, we're pretty productive,
Yeah. 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 And we were doing the best we could with the
Yeah.
awareness that we had at that time. We didn't know any different. We
Mhm.
didn't know. That's it. I don't even want to say we didn't know any better. We just didn't know any different. And that's
That's right.
exactly who we are and how we're being today. We're operating from everything we know today and the awareness that we're at. One day we might look back and want to have the same judgments of the version of who we are today.
Oh,
However, yeah, are we stopping to acknowledge? Someone asked me this earlier today, like, what would the version of me 2 years ago, how would she have reacted to everything that's going on right now? And I mean, I knew right away, I was like, oh, complete victim. Like, what's happening? Why is this happening to me? And I told you, even through my tears, even through the pity party, I know this is happening for me. But I don't want someone to tell me it's happening for me. I want someone to let me cry,
yeah.
give me a space to be sad about it. Um, and here's what I will say. Yes, it is as simple as allowing yourself to have the feeling. And there's so much beauty in that. And yes, it is laughable, like lovingly laughable. That's it. Like all I had to do was sit with it. I want to speak to something that's really important, that the answer may not come right away
Mm.
after that. And that's where this idea of stuckness comes in.
Mhm.
And this has been my experience over the last few weeks, I'd say.
Mhm.
I've been doing a lot of inner work and
Mhm.
self-inquiry and journaling and all the things to kind of like look within me. What is this thing about me? And I keep coming back to that within me.
Mm.
And then, the human part of me is like, that's great. So
Now
where's
what?
the, yeah, where's the, reaction, or where's the things that are supposed to, transpire now that I've done the inner work? And I've noticed what I've been feeling recently is a little bit lost and stuck,
Mm-hmm.
because my intention to do the inner work, that's pure, but there's still this underlying expectation that
Mm-hmm.
something's going to show up now.
That's
And
right.
when it doesn't show up, I'm a little bit frustrated. So of
Mm-hmm.
course, I have the pity party, and I'm here, and I'm learning to be with the stuckness.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's about getting still and being curious
Mm-hmm.
about what comes up in the stillness. I would say it's almost like learning to listen to my intuition,
Mm-hmm.
because there's no answer being handed to me.
That's right.
And so I'm forced, and not forced in a bad way, but you know, I'm left with, or what remains is an opportunity to get still
Yeah.
and listen to the whispers and the intuition. And only then will what wants to come up.
Yeah.
And as you mentioned, my business is called Inspire Possibilities. And I teach from my own experiences, and I coach from my own experiences. So, um, yeah, this stuckness thing has been, popping its head in and out for the last several months. Because of that, I sit there and I wonder how many other people have done the work. They've done the inner work, they've done the mindset work, they've taken a leap of faith, they know what they want. But every now and again, you come on that fork in
Mm-hmm.
and
Mm-hmm.
you're like, okay, like I thought I was doing everything I was supposed to be doing. And this is all beautiful. Like, whether for me, it was leaving the corporate world to start coaching, whether it's starting a side hustle, leaving a relationship, whatever it is, we are the people who took the leap of faith, followed our intuition. And then you hit this point, you're like, wait, I'm feeling stuck.
Mm-hmm.
Was I supposed to feel stuck? I thought I was on the path. What happened? And so I am learning to be with that now. And what I want to do is create a container for other women and men who are on that same journey and have come across that roadblock or the fork in the road, and want to, it's like, the best way I could describe it is there's moments where it's like, have I gone backwards? Or and
Mm-hmm.
I thought I worked through this. I thought that, I've worked through these limiting beliefs and blocks, that why is it showing up again?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, yeah. And the best way I can liken what I'm feeling now too is 5-ish years ago when I got laid off from my dream job, which I'm pretty sure I've shared in a past podcast episode
Mm-hmm.
with you, that journey. I really was left with, who am I?
Yes.
And as I described it, I'm revisiting that exact same
Beautiful.
thought,
Yeah.
but I recognize from a different level.
Yeah.
At it's like a spiral staircase, and I've come around to that
Yes.
spot. But let's recognize it's 5-ish years later, I'm a different person. And so I think that's the key thing. The blocks never go away completely. The limiting beliefs never go away. And we may have found our path, and we're on a journey that feels aligned, but they come back, and they come back in a different way.
Yeah, it's Fibonacci sequence. It's the evolution, right? It's a mathematical formula, and everything follows that, and it's so true. And it's funny because we talked about the stuckness as, I'm in the mud. You used to you
Yeah.
be like, I'm in the mud, and I'm like, well, let's take a mud bath. And
Yes,
you're kind of like,
exactly.
what?
Yeah.
What are you talking? It's just so funny that I love the balance that we have, and the holding the safe container is so necessary, because that slowing down piece, that is how we actually honor ourselves and honor that space for discernment, that ability to actually dive into, okay, where am I actually out of alignment? Because when we are in that 10 out of 10 alignment, we're truly living from spirit, right? In spirit, and really inspired. Taking action is, it's a day for day. We don't have to have this like huge plan with a million steps that we work backwards. Yes, we do. We can. Obviously, if you're creating a business, you need the masculine, you need the plan, you need the structure and the energy. Um, uh, and the scaffold of it for the safety. And that's the container, that safety that you're holding in this container for everyone just to be able to feel is so important. And it's really missing in our society. I think
Yeah.
we do a lot of spiritual bypassing. We do a lot
Mhm.
that sort of like, well, brush yourself off and let's get back on the horse. And we really bully ourselves. And I spoke to that a little bit in my chapter of Beyond Coincidence.
Mm.
There's no vacation. I'm like, oh yeah, I haven't even celebrated it. But authenticity calling, the book is really calling me, and that's all the steps.
Mhm.
I'm really
Mm.
being called in the space of really diving into and like micro analyzing what happens in the space of, and I would what comes through is to call it like conscious pity party, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And really, then what? Like
Yeah.
then what happens? Because I think in order for
Mhm.
people to have buy-in on actually wanting to do this, because there's a lot of resistance there, and it's literally
Yeah.
sitting with the resistance. Like, why would I do that to myself? So I just want to highlight again, first and foremost, it really doesn't take long.
Yeah.
Neuroscience teaches us that it takes 90 seconds to actually fully feel, if we allow it fully, to fully feel and release the emotion. And then that energetic shift happens. Literally, our body chemistry changes. And
Yeah.
which means our world, our perception, everything in our world, it starts with, we used to think it starts with thoughts, but it actually starts with the emotion. So if we don't free the energy in motion in our body to be exactly as it is, there's nothing else that we can cultivate and create from within or
Yes.
or experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And then it's easy at that point to give up, right? In my case, it could be like, okay, well, I guess this didn't really work out. Let me get on LinkedIn and
That's right.
all my
To give up.
all in
Oh,
the past. And yeah, and because it's like, okay, this didn't work out. But um, absolutely, I think that there's fear in feeling it because if everyone knew that it's so simple that we could feel it in 90 seconds and it's released, then why wouldn't we all do it? We'd all feel free of these feelings. So it's normal to have the fears and it's normal to fear and avoid the feeling. Naturally, we think it's going to last a day. Even that moment I had while working out, I was surprised. Every time I feel every time I have the pity party or I feel the feeling or I allow myself to just be in the mud, it always is quicker than I ever thought it would be.
yeah.
And every time I'm like, why didn't I do this sooner? Why have I been like, lingering around this rather than just jumping in and embracing it? Because of course we don't know. And every time it's new.
Mhm.
And absolutely, I think it's important to create a space or hold a space where, what I'm doing is I have a group program coming up in the fall where I want to invite people in to also be there, not on their own. But I
Mhm.
think that when we are doing this in community, we
Mhm.
don't feel like, okay, something's wrong with me.
That's right.
Everyone else is doing well on their new journey, and I'm sitting here stuck by myself. I think it's important to know that we're not alone and
Mhm.
that we all are experiencing this. And it's almost like this is the vision that's coming to mind is like we're all standing at the edge of the cliff ready to jump in the water, but it's going to make it so much easier when we all hold hands and take the dive together.
Oh,
So,
I love that.
yeah,
Yes.
yeah, yeah. And
I'm
that's
ready to go on a retreat with you. I'm like, let's go.
oh, just by the way, thank you for saying that. I've been telling everyone I'm having a retreat next year. I don't even know the details,
Sign me
but
up.
I'm so excited. I mean, I see a beautiful tropical place and
Oh,
yeah, maybe there's going to be some cliff jumping there, but
I love
we'll
that.
see. We'll
I'm
see.
so excited. So how can people find you? Where can they sign up? Is there a wait list, or how do they sign up to get in the course and then also find more about the retreat?
Yeah, absolutely. So I do have a link, and I don't know if there's a possibility to add it in the show notes. But yeah, I have a direct link to the actual program. Otherwise, there's a link to the program from my website. It's www.inspire-possibilities.com. I'm also on Instagram, inspire.possibilities, and I have a link to the program there. Also, if anyone has any questions, you can DM me or reach out to me through my website. I want people to know that this is a good fit for them, and possibly it's not. And, I do have some one-on-one packages as well, but I'm truly inspired to bring community together and do this in a group. And I have personally found so much value and support in a group and
Mhm.
feeling so much that I'm not alone. And this is not only about taking a jump and a leap together. This is about, cheering each other on, picking each
Mm.
other up when someone falls,
That's
or
right.
and it's about sharing our wins so that people can feel like, okay, this is what's possible. And that's, inspire possibilities. I want people to know if, I always tell people, trust me, if I can do it, you can. Like me of all people, I've always had that because I just know if I can do it, anyone can.
Mm.
And I know that might sound cliche, but it's so important for us to know the possibilities are limitless.
Yes.
And to anyone listening, wondering, they can do it, but it's not for me. That is, yeah, it's just not true. It's
Just not
available.
true. Yeah, no, absolutely. That self-rejection, it keeps coming up. Self-rejection, self-rejection. It's like, let's all stop self-rejecting and
Yeah.
really truly honor the calling that's internal to us. That's what authenticity calling is all about. And I just want to speak to the space that you hold. It is so clean, it is so beautiful, and it is so about really reflecting the people that you hold. And you've done this for me, and you've done this for so many people, but just really truly holding that safe, clean space that's all about them. And as
Mm,
you said, using your wisdom, your knowledge from your experience in your life, but really truly the container is so powerful when we come together because it creates this group alchemy, this group transformation. And you hold that space so masterfully, and I'm so excited for you to yeah, for you to just offer this, and for everyone that's coming into it, it's going to be
yeah.
everything and more that you could ever imagine. And I'm so excited for it for you. And
Yeah.
I guess my question before we pop off, and really the way that we're able to manifest but also magnetize, is what do you want to feel? When you're in that group container, when you have these people that are working with you, even in your workshops, in your retreat and everything, like what is that feeling that's then overpouring?
Hmm. The word collective is coming to me, like a
Mhm.
collective energy,
Mhm.
stronger together. Um, it just feels so powerful in
Yeah.
a very clean way, but like
Yes.
we are all connected
Yeah.
and we get to connect and just grow and elevate and as a collective.
Oh,
And
I love
yeah,
I love that. And that's so part of that Aquarian new age. There is no hierarchy. We're all co-creating. So
yeah,
beautiful, so
yeah.
honorable. Thank you. So thank you for all the work that you do. Thank you for these open, honest, genuine, vulnerable conversations. I love every single conversation with you. I'm so, so excited. I actually, we have these moments where like we come apart and then we come back together. And so
Mhm.
every time I see a post from you that's something new, I'm like, oh, I did not know about this.
Yeah.
So excited. You've done so much work. And I know sometimes it can feel like stuckness, but it really truly is that invitation to rest.
Yeah.
It truly came from spirit, and it was not meant to be dismissive at all. But yesterday
Yeah.
you said, like when you came to me and you said, like, this is what I have. And I'm like, congratulations. I got so
Yes.
excited for you. And I'm sure you were like, what?
Yeah.
Because
No,
it's
you know what? I
true.
wasn't. I was like, yep, and this is exactly why I called her. Like the inner
Love it.
knowing knew that I was receiving exactly what I was meant to receive. No, in fact, it made me laugh because that's it. You're so spot on. It might sound a certain way to someone, but it was like, oh no, congratulations. You get to slow down. You get to
Yes,
rest.
that's
And
right.
Yeah, yeah. And I know quite often we're mirrors for each other. And yeah, I often am mirroring that right back to you. So but I think that's an invitation to everybody.
Yeah.
Allow yourself to go still, allow yourself to rest. There's just not enough of resting that's being done. And I want to thank you for having this platform and inviting so many beautiful conversations and sharing it with anyone who listens, because I think yeah, if we're having these conversations and they touch someone in some way or land for someone, even just for a moment, then what a beautiful thing. So thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you. I honor that so much. Thank you. And going back to the resistance, like I sat with the calling to create a podcast for 4 years before it actually happened.
Yeah.
And I was all stuck in my ego, like
Yeah.
talking about that past version of ourselves. And finally, January 1st, 2024, I had a few recordings already done in 23. And it was just, I just knew it was like, just go. Like, no more excuses. You don't matter. I matter, but you don't matter. Like the
Yeah.
ego, it's like, okay, let's put that aside. That's not why we're doing this. We're not doing this for the ego anymore. We're doing
Yeah.
this because of essence, and essence says it needs to go. So it's really speaking to that trust in the process of just doing the thing, like taking that inspired action. It's so juicy because I
Yeah.
get to
Yeah.
connect
Yeah.
so many heart-centered, amazing, conscious leaders in their own space, and to support them sharing their gifts. And like I
Mhm.
in every session, and just so much synergy happens in this space that authenticity calling, it's not, I can't even claim that it's mine. It
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
for me, it has a life of its own, and it's going to be a book, it's a podcast, it's now creating an online course so that it's
Yeah.
accessible to people. Like,
Yeah.
it's just wild to me what we
Yeah.
can create when we just trust and
Yeah.
just do the thing that's
Yeah.
inspired. So I
Yeah.
thank you. I thank you and
Oh,
honor you for sharing your gift and for doing this work. And like, we met in the coaching space with Alyssa Nobrega through her coaching program, the Institute for Coaching Mastery. And I will always
yeah.
elevate it and speak so highly of it because
Yeah.
she is such a beautiful, clean, the divine embodiment of the feminine and masculine balance energy to create and hold space for like what is calling you forward as a
Mm.
healer, as a coach, as a supporter, as somebody who is really truly doing this work anyways in your life. Cause that was me. Like, I was doing it, but I didn't call myself a coach. I didn't know what that
Yeah.
meant.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I judged it. I highly judged it. But it was just such a beautiful place. And I mean, we were magnetized to each other.
Oh,
Remember if it was a breakout room or what it was, but like it was undeniable, the
yeah.
connection.
Yeah.
And I just want to speak to that too. In those group containers, you will meet
Yes.
your best friends. You will
Yes.
make such deep and meaningful lifelong partnerships and connections. That community, it never dies. And that's one
Absolutely.
thing I found about the mastermind that I hold. It's like women don't actually want to leave. They just want to stay connected.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, more to come about that, but
Yeah.
just so much beauty and
Yeah. Absolutely. Profound connections. And if I could just share one more
yeah,
thing that
please.
really came through as you were speaking, whether anyone listening is a coach or not, this is about sharing our gifts, whether
Mhm.
we want to call ourselves a coach, a healer, a spirit guide, a teacher, all humans, we have these whispers that are calling. And when we slow down and we listen, like you said, put the ego aside and like release the podcast. And this isn't about like put the ego aside, but I sense people are dreaming and wishing, and they have these whispers that say like, this is what I want to do. And it has nothing to do with what I'm already doing today. And I don't even know how, but like follow the breadcrumbs,
Yeah.
put aside all the thoughts, put aside these fears of judgment and go for it. And, let's stop wishing and dreaming and start doing from a place of inspiration and embodied action. And
Yeah.
so, yeah, I felt really called to. close with that.
Beautiful. So always bringing the balance and the masculine. I love it. It's so juicy. It's so beautiful. And I'm like, it's like dripping with potential. I love
Yeah.
it. Thank you. Thank you so much for, well, thank you for your, I'm so excited to hear about, all the things when they happen.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
if,
Yeah.
please, if anyone here is even curious, book a call with Sweta. Have that conversation. It's going to be, even if you spend those 5, 10, 20, however many minutes, it will be such a gift to you that, if you're thinking about, oh, is it worth my time? Is it not? Or giving yourself excuses, oh, I don't want to take up her time. No, this is what we do.
Yeah.
This is why we're
No,
here. And we
absolutely.
love generously giving and offering and holding that space. And Sweta, you're such
Yeah.
a gift. So, I mean, anyone that's inspired to reach out, just do the thing. Just do
Yeah.
it and you won't regret it.
Yeah. I'm here. I'm ready. I love to hold the space. And, if you're out there and you're like, yep, it's 30 minutes. Can you give 30 minutes of your time
To
um,
yourself.
to yourself?
Yes.
Are you ready to invest in yourself?
Yeah.
And I'm here to hold that space. And yeah, all it takes is 30 minutes. And that 30 minutes can just truly shift the trajectory of your life. And so if you're ready for that, I'm ready for you.
I
So
love it. Yes. Thank
yeah,
you. Oh, you're
thank you.
such a gift. Thank you so much for that. I look forward to more of these conversations. I know this is,
Absolutely.
yeah,
Thank
happening
you
again. And the
again.
conscious pity party.
Yes, yeah. If anyone wants to have a conscious pity party, I'm also available for that. So, yes.
Thank you, darling.
Thank
Well, thank
you.
you so much for everyone for listening. We'll post the links for reaching out to Sweta, and have a beautiful day. Have a wonderful week, and happy manifesting and magnetizing.
Thank you very much.
Take
Talk
care.
to you soon.
Bye.